Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Not Your Day Job. I have an amazing guest today, Damola Akintunde. Did I say that right?
Yes.
All right, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I met you first at the record store day for Little Brother.
Yeah.
I think it was Bree who actually introduced me to you.
Yeah.
And we're all from different places. So where are you from?
I'm actually from Durham, North Carolina.
Oh.
Yeah. I moved here when I was 3 years old and I just never left.
That's interesting because most people are not from here at least for me. So that's really, really crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So is there anything in your upbringing in Durham that has influenced how you view music with your DJing career?
Yeah, I've been an artist my whole life. I actually did performance art. I was a theater kid and a dance kid. So, and even in college I did dance. So I think a lot of my musicality comes from just being in the performance space, but also like being Nigerian American. I think a lot of my culture, the music, that's really inspires me and like drives me to be the type of DJ that I am.
And what genres of music do people know you for?
Yeah, I'm really niche. I would say generally African music, but more specifically West and South African music. So a lot of like Afro beats, a lot of Amapiano, Afro house, Alte, which is a Nigerian genre, Afro pop, Afro fusion. Yeah, I'm trying to expand a little bit to other African, countries and other parts of the diaspora, but that's pretty much been my bag.
There's so many different genres of music you just named, many I'm not even familiar with. Mm-hmm. Are there like top 3 favorite out of those that you like?
Ooh, okay. Yeah, I would say Amapiano. Amapiano, Afro beats, and Alte. Even though I don't get to play that as often, it's still one of my favorites.
What's kind of the difference between those? Because, I'm not sure. Because
I
I hear like Afro beats, you know, and people just say, oh, Burna Boy, and everything that's popular. But I mean, do you have a more insight of like the differences between those?
Yeah. So Afrobeats is rooted in West Africa. It's actually the derivative of Afrobeat. A lot of people mix Afrobeat and Afrobeats together. Afrobeat is like Fela Kuti. So it's more of the like 70s, like 80s, like Afrobeat that you hear from that era. And then after that, Afrobeats came out in like the 2000s, 2010s, I would say. And like you were saying, it's Burna Boy, Wizkid. I would even go as far to say like P Square, D'banj. Some women in Afrobeats are Thames. Well, Thames actually is an Alte artist that transitioned into like Afrobeats, Afropop, and Afro R&B. But I would say like Iris Star, just a lot of that is a lot popular, but there are other artists. Rema, I can't forget Rema.
I do.
Yeah.
Rema.
So definitely more like rooted in West Africa. And then Amapiano is a South African house genre. And that is also a fairly new genre as well. It's actually a combination of jazz, I believe, house music, and Kwaito, which is another South African genre that came before Amapiano. And then Alte is a Nigerian, like alternative African genre that's more rooted in the more Afrofusion, where it's like they're kind of taking inspiration from hip hop, they're taking inspiration from alternative music. It's an underground kind of genre that a lot of the youth of Nigeria are really into. And I got into it when I was a youth, so it's kind of cool to see it's kind of evolving from the 2010s.
That's amazing. Like we just got a mini history lesson.
I don't know if I did it justice. I tried, but I like to research a little bit. So yeah, I like to know what I'm listening to and why they came about and how, like what the influences are as well.
And how important is it for you to showcase your culture through your DJing?
Yeah, it's really important. I feel like this area, it's catching up. I feel like a lot of the bigger cities are really into like African music and like put it on not a pedestal, but there's a lot of different events. Like I know the DMV has Amapiano DMV. I know Houston and Dallas have really big Afrobeats Amapiano scenes. Of course, New York. I feel like all the major cities are really like into it. And I feel like here, I was struggling to find that music when I went outside. And so that's why as a DJ, I was like, I have to hold it down. And there was a lot of other people who were saying the same thing.
And that's amazing because that's how I feel about North Carolina. Being born and raised here too, but not in Durham or Raleigh, more of a very small town, I think things are very slow to catch on here. Yeah. I think people like things at a certain speed that they can take time to get used to it. Yeah. But I love it that you and many other people are exposing us to like new things, new music. So I think that's amazing. And even though I'm going to save more of the filmmaking questions to later, but I think it does play a part into the DJing. When you're crafting a DJ set, right, I think about it like telling a story as well. Yeah. So, you have the start of the party, you have the middle of the party, you have the end, almost like a story. Do you craft your DJ set similar to how you craft your films?
That's really interesting. Yeah, it's funny because I'm doing a DJ documentary right now, and I showed part of it, and a lot of folks were like, you should edit like as if you're DJing, which I'm still trying to figure out what that means. But I think the similarities is the fact that I definitely want to take people through this like sonic journey where like there's ups and downs. Like I think a lot of DJs, what I realized learning is that you need to pace people so that they don't burn out like by the end of the night. And I think even within like the 1 hour set that I have, I'm like, I can try to give people a taste of everything from like the more low key, like Afrobeat, slower stuff to like the really high energy, like commercial amapiano. I like to make sure that like I'm taking people through a journey through like BPM, through key, through song selection, where they get to breathe a little bit sometimes. And then I'm like, hey, wait, I got something else for you coming. Don't be too relaxed. You're gonna be dancing again in a second. So I definitely have the same like rhythm of the whole night. I try to encapsulate it in 1 hour if I have a 1 hour gig.
That's beautiful. And do you have like a favorite track to open with and a favorite track to close with?
Oh my gosh, I don't know if I do. That's a really good question.
If you don't, it's okay. Yeah. I think when I hear some DJs, there's multiple DJs. There's like songs that people always go to. They're like, if all else fails, that song.
I do have that. I don't think I necessarily have like an opening or closing, but like I will definitely play some Burna at some point because I think that is pretty popular. Like even if you don't know Afrobeats, you're gonna know Burna Boy. So I'll try to play him. Definitely Wizkid is another like universal artist. In terms of songs specifically, with Rema, Bounce is like I DJ for the girls. So if I know the girls are there and they're trying to have a good time and dance, Bounce or Woman is like a really good one. When it comes to Wizkid, I like to play a lot of his older stuff. Like Ajualegba is like a really popular song that like I love to play if I know there's a bunch of like Nigerians specifically there, because it's one of those like, it's similar to like Dreams and Nightmares for Nigerians.
Okay.
You know, okay. Like, so there's certain songs I know are like really culturally relevant, both to like specifically like Africans, like West Africans that grew up with that music, like the nostalgia of it all, but also in the more commercial sense where there are people who are like, I don't listen to this, but I know it was in the top 40 or like it's that vibe where it's commercial. Like people are hearing it. Like I know Calm Down by Rema was like everywhere at one point. So like I kind of think about that when I think about the venues I'm walking into or the events that I'm doing, if they're not specifically like Afro beats or African music centric.
Yeah. And I think when you're a DJ and you're trying to make all these song selections and you're carefully crafting it, I think there's songs that maybe you like and maybe it doesn't hit at the party. Have you ever had that experience where you chose a song but the crowd wasn't feeling it?
I'm sure I have, again, because I am in front of audiences that aren't as familiar with the music that I play. It's a lot of introducing people to new things. So, but I've had instances where I thought it didn't land and people came out to me and they're like, you play that one song that no one else knew. Like, that's so dope. Like, thank you for playing that. Like, so even if it didn't land necessarily, I know at least one person walked away being like, oh my gosh, I haven't heard that song in so long. Or they're like, oh wait, I never hear that song at all. So I've been trying to not take it too personally for the most part, but it's interesting that there is this conversation that happens afterwards where I'm like, oh, I think I did a terrible job. And then people are like, no, we had a great time. That song landed. That was a good pick. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, I think also it's very brave. You know, you're basically putting your art form out there live, right? What is your favorite performance so far?
In terms of like a gig that I've done?
Yeah.
Opening for Tyler ICU was really big. So he is an Amapiano DJ, specifically, who's like really catapulted Amapiano to like the global stage. Like you might have heard of his song Nike, maybe. I don't know. If I played it, you probably have heard it.
Yeah.
It's apparently it was like one of Rihanna's favorite songs. Like it went viral because she was listening to it. So he came to Durham and I was able to open for him. And that was like huge for me because at that time, I think I hadn't even hit 1 year of DJing yet. And so for me to be in spaces where I'm able to open for like major international artists, that was amazing for me because I was also playing music that everyone was familiar with. So the reception I was getting, I was like, okay, this is going to hit because I know they're going to know this song. So it was one of those moments where everything like kind of came together beautifully.
Absolutely. And how important is it for you as a DJ to break in new music for other people, right? You just got this opportunity with this artist to open up, but how important is it for you as a DJ to showcase new music to people?
I think it's really important. I think specifically with the music that I play, there's so much of it coming out all the time. And with the fact that a lot of people I think are moving away from streaming, like they're not really into it as much. I think now the DJ can kind of like step in and be like, okay, fine. You want to know what's going on? I can actually introduce you to new music so you don't have to rely on an algorithm to do that. So I'm more than willing to like take a chance and say like, hey, this song is really good. And it might take like 3 or 4 spins for people to actually like get into it, but I'm willing. Because again, I've already decided to be that niche DJ. I might as well go all in and be the one that's also introducing new music as well.
Absolutely. When you talked about streaming and people kind of going away from that, but then we were also having a conversation before about YouTube and like, you know, the different DJ sets you see coming out. Do you see streaming or I guess recordings of DJ sets on YouTube as the middle ground between streaming but then physically going out to a party?
Yeah, actually, I didn't think about it like that, but I think it is a really good medium for people. For one, I actually love YouTube DJ sets because that's how I find new music as well. I think it's a good way for folks to allow the DJ to kind of set the scene and set the pacing of like what they're listening to. Usually not even algorithm, but the titles will tell you what kind of genres you're listening to. So you can come into it with like some sort of expectation, but you're not there to be like, I need to hear this one song. So you're letting go. There's a lot of like trusting of like whatever you're listening to. And you can opt out if you're not feeling the mix, which is nice. Sometimes when you're at a party, you're like, I don't really like what I'm listening to, but you're there with your friends. You can't really leave. So I think there's like a way for folks to like find ways to engage with music in ways that feels good to them. So I know there's a lot of controversy around like the idea of the YouTube set because people are like, when you film a DJ, it's like turning the DJ into like the main event versus the music. So that has been an interesting conversation to think about is like, are we making this idea of performance more, you know, the center of the DJ, or is it just another way for us to like make music more like accessible for people?
That's interesting because I've never heard anyone put it in that way as far as performance, because you as the DJ, when I was talking to Bree, I believe you are the life of the party, right? You know, once we take the music off, what are we doing?
That's true.
Right?
Yeah.
But you're saying using YouTube, I guess these YouTube DJ sets kind of put the focus more on the DJ. And I'm thinking, can it be both? Yeah. Or do you feel like maybe it needs to be more like a filmmaker? I'm not in front of the camera. I'm showing you the art that's in front of the camera, but you never see me.
That's true. I don't know. I've heard both sides of the coin. I've heard some people say like, back when DJing was a thing, like they hid the DJ or like the DJ was up, like,
I have been to clubs where like, where's the DJ?
Right.
You know?
So, and if you're recording a set, you can do that, but then you don't have the people behind you. Like there's there's a formula that's happening right now where it's very much like you're in front of the camera, there's people behind you, they're vibing, so it shows that the DJ is doing a good job. Like there's this like relationship happening on on screen. So, but I also think it's beneficial because, again, that's how we're sharing information. We're in the digital space. I think it's worthwhile to do both. I just don't know, how do we find a balance between like not making the party looking at the DJ. Like the party should be you dancing with your friends.
Yeah, absolutely. I think people, I don't know. My opinion, even when I was talking to Bree, is that, do you believe that the DJ is getting more respect today because of those videos coming out, because we're seeing this rise of social media, with DJs. But like, do you feel that it's really more of a help, not a hindrance? I feel like it's more of a help because I think with streaming, we get to the music we want. We can skip through an entire album. We don't have to listen to it or engage into what the artistry really is. And so when you're watching the DJ set on YouTube, yes, can I skim through it? Sure. But I think it makes the DJ more of the center to say, oh, I appreciate that DJ. Yeah. That was a great set. Yeah. Whereas before you would go to a party, the DJ is hidden. That was an amazing set. I'm not sure who did it, but...
Okay, I see. Yeah. Yeah. Visibility is a big thing. Like who gets... But another layer to that is... Yeah, I mean, I think I see both sides for sure. I don't think we should get rid of... I post like on YouTube, like I've started doing that. Again, I'm thinking about how do I meld filmmaking with DJing. I'm posting my sets on YouTube and I'm hitting audiences I would never otherwise like reach, like global audiences I would never otherwise reach. So I think there's a way to balance it. I think maybe the conversations should be separate. Like this idea of like the in-person experience should be different than what the digital experience is, because they both serve different roles. And like, I just love the idea though of having some opportunities to go to a DJ set and knowing that it was never documented. Like I like the idea that that set just lives in that moment and like you let it be what it is too.
I think people forget a time and a place, like me being a 90s baby and going out to different parties, going out to different concerts, and knowing that your cell phone quality was trash, right? So we're no longer going back to those photos, right? Or those videos, and you just lived in the moment. Do you feel that when you're, doing a DJ set that people are more living in the moment today, or do you feel like people are there to kind of still get their social media off?
I think people are living in the moment. Let me be clear. As a photographer, I love documenting. Like I will never, and I also believe strongly in archive. Like this idea of us like making sure we know like what like experience today, like have proof of that. I think people are living in the moment. I think people are still nervous because you never know if like your moment is going to be documented and posted online. Like you don't know if the dance moment and you were just letting loose, being free. Like there is probably a little bit of fear of being perceived happening right now. And therefore people might hold back. So it's less about living in the moment, more so like, am I fully like letting go and like just leaving it on the dance floor or just like leaving it in this space? I think there is still some fear happening.
I completely agree with that. It was just a beautiful thing to go and dance, have fun, and not wake up to people messaging you, hey, you're going viral.
Yeah.
Is it for good or bad? I don't know, man. That dance move you made last night, I don't think it's going that well. And I think that is a fear that people just can't really be themselves. So, but when we go back to performances, do you prefer big rooms or small rooms, or does it kind of matter?
I don't think it matters. I just think as long as people are engaging, I have a good time. I think if people are willing, again, because it feels like a performance, like my set, even if I plan it a little bit, it can and will change depending on who's in the space. So if I see someone and they're like telling me, they're like, yeah, I love this song, I'm like, okay, I'm catering to you. If no one else is giving me energy, at least I know you are, and you're going to physically give me energy so that I know what to do. So it's like a conversation happening. So it is a little bit easier to do in smaller settings. But again, like I said, for the Tyler ICU show, that was like one of the biggest shows I'd done. I actually also did Rollywood. I ended up opening for Jordan Ward. So that was a huge like opportunity there too. But I was in the back. I couldn't really see people. So there was no way for me to like really know if people were vibing unless like if I was on my phone for some reason and someone, you know, DM'd me or like tagged me in a video and I saw that they were having a good time or something. But yeah, I think it's more so about how if I'm able to connect versus like the number of people in the room.
That's very interesting. I always wanted to know from a DJ's perspective, being a DJ on stage or opening up for something that big.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, it's not like a club or a smaller room. And that's why I asked that question. So like, what was that experience like? Could you kind of take us through that?
Yeah. So that was such an interesting day for me because, again, I'd never done anything like that. I'd never done a festival before. And what ended up happening is that I was essentially spinning in between performances. And this was like maybe 5-10 minutes at a time. I am not used to like those short sprints. I at least have an hour to like kind of play. And so by the time I was ready to like, I was like, ooh, I'm in my groove. I know what to play next. They were like, okay, we got it. I was like, oh, okay, this is different. And then when you're on stage, again, when you can't really see faces really well, like it was so different for me. Even at that time, I was spinning on a board that I wasn't really super familiar with. So I was like freaking out on that end. But overall, it was still fun because it challenged me to think about like, okay, they gave us the set, like who was performing on the stage. I was able to kind of be like, okay, even though I know Afrobeats is not on the lineup, how do I like strategically like play a song that's similar to the artist that's about to come up? So I did a lot of like research and just said like, hey, how do I curate a vibe that's close enough that if people were not familiar with music, they still were like, oh, this fits like the energy of the night or like the energy of the performance going on right now. So it was a little stressful, but it was fun.
That's interesting. And, you know, you talked about the board you weren't as familiar with. Was it like your first board or was this like a brand new board and you were like elevating your equipment and you're like, oh, I'm not used to it?
It wasn't my board.
Oh, okay.
So I've historically been in situations where I play on other people's boards. I started off with a Rev 1 as like my baby board. It wasn't until maybe a year in last November that I upgraded to a RX3 because I knew I needed to start using USBs like CDJs and stuff like that. But yeah, I've had to spin on like the Rev 10, the Rev 7, Rev 5, Rain controllers. Like I don't like, it's just, people were like, hey, instead of you bringing your board that's not necessarily professional, like you're not supposed to really use a Rev 1 out in the world for the most part because of it doesn't have XLR hookups. But they were like, yeah, just come play. And so in the moment I would be like, I'm learning this board in real time. And I did that like at least 7 times. It felt like every time I was learning something different.
Is there a board that you would recommend to the new upcoming DJ who is like, okay, I started out with a Rev 1, but I'm trying to upgrade? Is there like one that you would go for? I would say
the Rev 5 for sure. I think that's like most of my friends have the Rev 5. I think even Bree has the Rev 5. It's considered like a club controller. And then I've heard people use the Rev 10 as well. Those are like the 2 I think that would be good. It's an investment. You gotta, that's the one thing I'm learning about all the things that I do. I have to invest in a lot of gear. It's very expensive.
Absolutely. And when it comes to DJing, do you see it as an essential part of how you express yourself?
Ooh. I would say so now. It's very new. It's like a new practice for me. But it has like changed the way I see myself. As a photographer, even though I do self-portraits, I was still alone for the most part. Like I would have maybe one person that I was working with, shooting with. This is the first time in a long time that I've had to like perform again and be visible. And I've been grappling with this idea of being seen. And also with like the idea of performing in a way where I can't like start over, or like I'm a bit of a perfectionist. So it's very difficult for me to like be in the moment and be like, oh, I just messed up. And everyone's like, hey, we didn't know that until your face showed it. You need to like learn how to just roll with it, because no one cares. They're here for the music, they're here for the vibes, they're here for you, in theory. Adjust accordingly, you know, just play it off and like move forward. But it's been a practice of like literally learning how to let people see who I am in real time.
Absolutely. I completely identify with that. Even with me being a software engineer, there's always improvements I can do to the code. But also we are on a timeline, and it's like, hey, this looks great. Yeah. Other engineers are reviewing it, and they're just like, we have to ship it, man.
Yeah,
like,
we gotta go.
But you know, you just want to keep tweaking and tweaking. But I think that's really good. It gives you the experience to think on your feet,
right?
And also to be more easy on yourself, to be nicer to yourself.
It's hard.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you had a dream venue location that you could do like your dream DJ set, where would that be?
Ooh, okay. That's a great question. I have been watching a lot of sets at Obi's house in Nigeria. I would love to like be able to spin like abroad, like in a space like that. Or even in South Africa, which I feel like that'd be really, really scary to do. Like to play like Amapiano in the place that it originated. I would be so scared to do that. But hopefully I can get to a place where I feel, you know, confident enough to, and also other people feel confident in me to like do that properly, because there is a proper way to spin Amapiano. Like there's a lot of debate about this, but I personally, I listen to whoever originated the music. If they say like, don't play the music faster than the original BPM, I'm not doing that. So yeah, I think Obi's house is one of them. I would love to, I know this is technically not a venue, but like everyday people, like that kind of vibe. I love a day party, like anything with like a rooftop. I feel like the music I play is like perfect for those environments. But on the flip side, I would love, even here in Durham, like the Fruit, like I would love to do more of like an Afro rave. Like I like to also play some of the more grungier, like bass heavy music. And I feel like that'd be a great environment for people to kind of like that sensory experience. So yeah, there's different options out there that I'm really interested in.
I think you're going to be the person that introduces all of us to the different areas of like Afro beats, Amapiano. Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
And because I believe in America is just culturally different, we just stick to the mainstream. Whatever the TV or the radio or what's popular on social media, that's what we stick to.
Yeah.
But then you're telling us there's an entire world.
Yeah.
Of music underneath that, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's beautiful. And I wanted to switch over to photography, filmmaking. If I have this correct, you're currently attending Duke University to get your master's in fine arts. Is that correct?
Yes.
Cool. I know that takes a lot of work.
Yes.
Anybody getting a master's degree or PhD, my girlfriend went to Duke University as well.
Okay.
Got her PhD in genetics and genomics, and I saw how much work you all put in. So can you describe the balance between your education and also being a DJ?
Yeah, it's a lot. I'm in my second semester right now, so I feel a little bit more grounded because I know what to expect. First semester was a doozy because my day-to-day obviously would be class, but it would also be making. Like a lot of my classes require us to make films every 2 weeks. Like, yeah, exactly.
That's crazy.
Right. Yeah. So I have an assignment like this semester. It's really cool though, because the program is experimental and documentary arts. So there is a lot of freedom. There's not this like more traditional approach to like filmmaking, but at the same time, every 2 weeks, I'm like, I got another assignment due. And that's just for one class. And the other classes, I have other, assignments. Luckily, some of them are flexible. You can do photo. The program, actually, not all of us came into it as filmmakers. Like some of us were animators, writers, sound. So it's not like restricted to filmmaking. But for me, I purposely wanted to do this program to become a filmmaker. So it's a lot. And then on the weekends, or sometimes during the week, I'm DJing, So I don't get a lot of sleep. I don't get a lot of sleep.
you know, old to be young again. Anyway, I'm just kidding.
I feel like we're around the same age.
Oh yeah, and that's why I'm just joking. Like, I feel like you have to be young in spirit, right?
In spirit, definitely, yeah.
But that's a lot of work because I see one of my best friends who is on film sets and she shows me some of the behind the scenes. Yeah. And I'm just thinking the amount of planning that it takes to release a film. And I know, I'm not sure, how long are the films that you averagely make?
Short.
Okay.
These are like short films, like no more than 5 minutes for the most part.
Okay.
But it's more to get us in the practice of like creating concepts, like if we do collaborations, like getting better at like being in collaboration with other people. I technically have been doing a lot of personal films, like working on things that I can do on my own, or things that are already kind of like the DJ film is helpful because I am already outside a lot. So I can just like record my friends and like document the life that I'm currently living. So I'm also being strategic about making work that aligns with like what I want to do moving forward or like what I'm already doing. So luckily it's not like full-fledged like 20-minute plus films that we have to work on. But for our thesis, the expectation is to make like full body of work to be exhibited next year. So I have to start thinking about that now.
Oh, I was going to ask if you already had the idea, but it seems like we're working on it.
I have an idea that there was like a concept that I've talked about before. It's called Your Presence Spreads Beyond These Walls. It's meant to be like a multimedia project that's kind of rooted in autoethnography, like self-discovery, like documenting myself to learn about myself. I don't know if that's going to be my thesis because a lot can change, but I know that project's going to happen regardless. But whether or not it's going to be my thesis is a whole nother thing.
Okay. And you talked about the balance, right? And becoming a DJ, on the weekends and sometimes in the middle of the week. But when we take it back to the music, I feel like music can take you different places, right? So how has music influenced your photography and your filmography?
Yeah. I would say sometimes like one thing that's really weird about me is that when I listen to music, I see scenes. Like when I listen to songs, I already am starting to develop like what I would love to be a music supervisor one day. Like when I think about films and movies, I would love to like place music in those spaces because I already see it in my head. I'm like, oh, this song could be like when someone's breaking up with their partner, or like this song could be in a thriller, like psychological thriller where they're chasing down the killer. Like I think I already kind of have this like mentality around how music is like literally the soundtrack to our lives, or can be the soundtrack to our lives, that it inspires like conversations or like things about my work. I think it was more casual, like more kind of in the background at first, but now that I'm actually filmmaking, I want it to be more obvious that like this music is like, I want to start producing as well. Like I want to be able to kind of integrate the music into the film or into the way I'm presenting the photo. If I'm in a gallery, like if there's music in the background that supports the work. I think there's just a way for all these mediums to talk to each other, and I'm still working through that.
Do you think it's hard trying to put your hands in all these different mediums, but also being a perfectionist?
Yes. It is quite literally so difficult for me. I have ADHD, so I kind of thrive in that because it allows me to like be in a lot of different places at once. But because I am the person who's like, I was self-taught, like I taught myself photography. I'm the person who's like, if I don't know something, I'm gonna learn it. But then I like get so in it that I'm like, oh, there's like a whole different thing I need to be working on right now. Like I got really distracted. Like I feel like I'm getting pulled in like a million directions. So I think my next challenge is to figure out what to say no to, or like what's not now. Maybe it's later, I think that's where the perfectionism comes in, where I'm like, I need to do all things at once and do it well. And I'm like, that's quite literally impossible. It's impossible. So I need to let some of that go.
Absolutely. I think it's very hard. I do not have ADHD, or at least have never been told I have it. But I have many friends, who are, and I see like this constant struggle, staying on task, managing different things. But I feel like, it seems like also being a filmmaker is about being somebody that can plan.
Right.
And is that a struggle trying to like build out all these different scenes, how they connect? You may have a day where I think for the average person, they think a film is filmed linearly and it's not, right? So could you talk about how you like balance that, you know, from a creative process standpoint?
Weirdly enough, I am type A with ADHD, which is a bit of a struggle.
Could you explain that for people who don't know? Right.
So for me, when I consider myself type A, I love Notion. Like I love planning. I have Milanote. Like when it comes to my day to day, I'm very much like a visual person where I need to see like what's happening. And the same thing with like filmmaking and even like with photo shoots, I do a lot of mood boarding. So I find myself kind of asking myself questions like, what is the purpose of this like project or this thing? Who am I? What's the audience? What is the narrative I'm trying to create? Like I have like kind of these questions that I ask myself to make sure I'm like fulfilling the goal of like the film. Sometimes I also have to think like the to-do list, like how much gear do I need? Like what software do I need? Like what things do I need to like start thinking about ahead of time? And then there's also this idea, like if there's collaborators, who do I need to send like information to? What questions do I need to ask them? I'm very much the type of person where I'm like laying out, like, at least I try to. Sometimes I get a little too all over the place, but for the most part, I like a lot of structure when it comes to like planning. But with school, they're actually teaching us like structure is good, but you also have to like trust your intuition. There has to be some level of like, again, the experimentation of just seeing why, like letting it flow and like let it happen. I have to kind of break some of my old patterns of being like, that scene has to look like that. And they're like, why? Does it have to? It can look totally different in the moment. What if like a light, you realize the light's different and you can change the lighting or like you can change your perspective or whatever. So it's one of those things where I'm learning how to let that be the kind of framework, but not the end all be all of like what I'm doing at the end of the day. Yeah.
And I think there's always a struggle because you have a vision in your head and you plan it out a certain way, but always having somebody you trust from the outside come in and say, no, you could do that. Yeah. And it's like,
I can.
Right?
That's true.
I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I've listened to authors talk about, you know, how they write books, how they write a show, or even people who are writing scripts for films. And I heard something once that a great writer already knows their ending. Is that the same for you with filmmaking? Do you have an idea and then you say, I already know how this is going to end. I'm just going to fill in the gaps?
No. I think, again, this program is actually teaching us not to really, that it's okay, rather. Not to say don't do that, but it's okay not to have endings. Again, with this DJ documentary, I have just been flowing. I just like get material. And I think I'm going to find the story as I document, honestly. I have like a framework of like why I'm doing it. Like it's, the whole concept is that it's a love letter to like the community that I've built over this last year. And it's also an exploration of like the individual DJ, like outside of the persona. Like I studied in undergrad psychology and medical anthropology. So I have this like framework around like reflection, like how we see ourselves can often be influenced by how the world sees us as well. You know, this idea of double consciousness, like how much of our understanding of ourselves is influenced by like external structures. So I'm also trying to use this documentary to ask DJs the same question, like how much of your own understanding of your DJ persona is like curated by like the things that you do or experience versus like who are you, like who can people know who you are like outside of that. So yeah, I think not having an ending is good because it allows me to be like, I can go in either direction. Like if something else is coming up, like another theme, I can like allow myself to go there versus being like, but the ending has to be this like feel good, you know, kumbaya, you know, DJ moment. Like it doesn't have to be like that. So I'm very flexible with endings.
Gotcha.
But I know I also don't do a lot of narrative work. So maybe that's why. Maybe if I were getting more into fiction, my approach would be different, but I do more of the documentary experimental work that some experimental documentaries, not even documentaries, experimental work doesn't have an ending. Or like there's no conclusion. you're just sitting there and you're like, I'm not sure what I watched, and I'm not sure if I feel satisfied.
Yeah. And I wanted to go back to you talking about when you're creating this film and talking about DJs, and there's always, I think, like the performer and the person, as you were mentioning. So for you, is there a major difference between Damola, the performer, and Damola, the person?
I think so. I think I'm actually trying to change this, because I think Damola, the like everyday person, is very bubbly, very like out there. She's like fun. She doesn't really, I have a lot of humor, but because of my perfectionism, Damola, the performer, is very like head down, is trying to make sure that transition hit. Like I'm super closed off, and I'm always, I'm not upset, but I'm always like disappointed because people are seeing that for their first reaction or their first impression, and I'm like, that's not me. I promise. Like, I'm really I'm easy to talk to. Like, say hey. Like, but sometimes people are like, oh, you were just in your mode, girl. Like, I didn't feel like I could come up to you, and I'm like, I want to kind of bring my everyday into the persona a little bit, and feel more confident in my abilities and just let that be what it is. So I think most people have the opposite though, where they're like, yeah, I'm really shy. But like when I'm a DJ, I'm out here, and I want to be like that.
Got you. I was talking with Bree about DJing and like booth etiquette and things of that nature, and she was like, I just want like people dancing. Yeah. She said, I want all the bad girls, right. And I feel like, do you feel like surrounding yourself with people that you like trust, that you love, that people that that's got your back in a DJ set, does that help you bring that other side out of you?
Absolutely. I've had sets where it's just me, myself, and I'm like, I miss my friends. Like, I wish they were here. There's something about having people that also understand DJing. They know like what you just did was so dope, Yeah. So it's really helpful to have people supporting you, like cheering you on. So yeah, I miss them when they're not there.
Going back to filmmaking, and you're talking about you have these films that you make in a 2-week period. Seems like you really love documentary film work. Are there any stories that are close to your heart that you would love to make a film about? Yeah,
I actually would love to go back to Nigeria to talk and explore with Alte musicians and DJs and producers. Because again, I think that like underground scene is so interesting and hasn't really it's been around for a minute, since like the early 2010s, hasn't really gotten a lot of visibility. But I think like what they're doing is so interesting, and also it helps me feel a little bit connected, because I've never been to Nigeria before. Like I was born in PG County. So like we obviously are from the same culture, but we're not. So like I would be there also learning from them about the music scene, like how that works. So it'd be like almost as like cross-cultural, like this sharing like that could happen. So I'm really interested in that as a story. I also want to document other Black women artists, because I really feel like my friends, first of all, they're really cool. I want to just shout a couple out, but like I love like Faith Couch. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like Faith Couch is an amazing photographer. She was actually I forgot which year, of the 30 under 30 Forbes list. She's currently getting her MFA at Yale right now for photography. Beautiful portraiture around Black love, Black like just experience. Kennedy Carter is amazing. She shot Beyonce. And she's been doing amazing photo work and just documenting like Black life in the South in general. My mentor, Jamaica Gilmer, she actually started the Beautiful Project, which is a beautiful art collective of Black women and girls, which I feel like the idea of like Black girls kind of being in art spaces and highlighted and mentored is like super important. And she's an amazing photographer and a curator in her own right. But I just want to like highlight the Black women artists from North Carolina or based in North Carolina, because I feel like North Carolina doesn't get the shine it deserves when it comes to art spaces. Like we have such a like beautiful like community here, and some of like the biggest like kind of artists that like J. Cole obviously just dropped an album recently. They're from here, so there's like obviously a lot to like highlight and discuss. So I think my kind of premise of filmmaking has always been like, who are the people in my life that I think are amazing, and I want to like give them their flowers and like find ways for other people to like learn about them.
How important is it for people to really look at art from Black women and Black people in general directly? Because I'm trying to remember, and so I'll paraphrase. There was a photo going around at a place that wanted to highlight Black art and Black history. But when people took pictures of it, they noticed that's not from a real artist. That's AI.
I think I know what you're talking about.
You probably remember.
Yeah.
So going back to the question, how important is it for people to actually ingest and take a look at and appreciate art from Black creators?
I think it's significant because I think all of our experiences are so varied. I know we have like the Black experience that we like to say, but all of us have such a different eye, perspective, understanding of the world that I think it's worthwhile to like understand and see our work as a new way to see the world. And also just to see our humanity as well. Like, I think a lot of Black artists, even if they're not inherently, maybe they don't want to like say they like speak about Black issues, our work, because of our experiences, are going to be influenced by that. So, and I know people don't like to say like art is political, but art is inherently political. Like, there's no way around it. So I think just as a way of like seeing humanity in its like diversity, Black folks should be like centered in a lot of these conversations because of like our experiences, and inherently because of the fact that when you like support and uplift Black folks in any like arena, not just the arts, but in any like spaces and social justice in general, it helps everyone else. Like, everyone else benefits from the fact that Black folks and Black creators are being platformed. So I think it's about this shared conversation again that's happening. I think by talking to Black artists, you're learning about different experiences. And I just think we have a different flavor. We just have a different swag. We just have a different je ne sais quoi that we bring to like our work that is unmatched and can't be replicated and can't be duplicated. Like, no matter how many times our work gets stolen or like our visions get like, you know, reduced to like tropes or anything, like it just doesn't hit the same. So I think there's like this beauty in seeing us, because it's just a matter of humanity at this point.
Absolutely. And is there a filmmaker or photographer, if you had an opportunity to sit down like we are and have an interview, is there one filmmaker or photographer you would love to interview?
This feels like so easy, but I have the Oscars in the back of my mind. I feel like Ryan Coogler, like I definitely would love to sit down with him. Like, what he did with Sinners was like just incredible. Like that, like as an original screenplay, centering, you know, the South, also bringing in elements that people may not have known about, like the Mississippi Chinese community. Like, he just did such a beautiful, and also the people he collaborates with. Like, I want to learn more about like the fact that so many of his collaborators he's known for years. Like, how do we bring people with us, like as you're like creating? Photographer wise, I love Carrie Mae Weems. The Kitchen Table series is like one of those like bodies of works that influenced me so heavily, especially my self-portraiture. I've seen her speak before, but I've never like actually spoken to her. But she just has this way of depicting Black womanhood that I really resonate with. And then I'll do one more. Barry Jenkins, Moonlight. If Beale Street Could Talk. Like, I feel like his own like directing style is so significant. But there's also a bunch of cinematographers, because I will admit, I think at the end of the day, I might be more of a DP than a director. I think my photography side like really like lends itself to like cinematography a little bit neater. And so there's so many cinematographers I would like to talk to about like, how do you frame an image? Like, how do you create like light spaces, and, you know, think about lens choice, and like think about, you know, just how do you create a narrative through like the image in that way? So yeah, there's a lot of people I'd like to talk to, but yeah.
That's awesome. You know, many photographers and filmmakers, you know, once you put your art out into the world, it's for the world, right? Yeah. And in that process, you can get a lot of critiques. So as you put your art out into the world, what centers you when you hear all the criticism and tune out the noise?
This is funny because I did have an experience on Threads maybe a year ago where I posted a video and it blew up, but I got a lot of like film bros in my comments talking about, you did that wrong, or like you should have framed that correctly, or like that was not a great edit. Like they had so much to say, and I think what grounded me was the fact that I was like, hey, I actually tried. Some people don't even pick up a camera because they're scared. Like I have been in this space of like trying out loud. Again, very vulnerable, super humbling, but like my like North Star is the idea that like no one can say I didn't try. No one can say that I didn't, you know, attempt to do it. And I'm more than willing to like, you know, try to do better. But at the end of the day, like that was a lot for me to like put myself out there. And I'm like proud of myself for that. I think another thing that grounds me is the idea that I'm just a forever student. Like I will always learn something new, and I'm okay with that. I'm not the best at everything, and I'm okay with that as well. So it's, just trying to approach it in a humbling way where like if people have bad things to say, one, I want to see them try. And two, I also am still proud that I attempted and tried it. And like, if it's cool, it's cool. If it's not, it's not. I'll let it go. You know, a lot of radical detachment at this point. I don't know.
That's really good. That's very beautiful coming from someone who says she is a perfectionist.
It's a both and, yeah.
Yeah. But also I think it's easier to let go of those critiques because you can kind of tell the people who are wanting to hear themselves out loud, not really giving constructive criticism. They probably didn't really look through or try to understand the story you were trying to tell. Yeah. And they just wanted to say, hey, I'm a bro. Right. You're a girl. Right. Let me show you.
Ooh, the misogyny that I've experienced in all these spaces, in these male-dominated spaces, has been interesting. Yeah, it's hard.
Is it? Do you experience that on the technical level more, or is it like they feel like your storytelling, quote unquote, they feel like your storytelling is not that good, or is it more on the technical?
I think it's more the technical side in all arenas. Yeah, I feel like it's more like they have a lot to say where they're like, I studied this and I know. It's like it's mansplaining. You know, they just like to hear themselves talk, like you were saying. Because, if any of the critique I got was mainly about like technical things that also in my mind, I was like, but things are meant to be broken as well. Like I think if you're so rigid, you can make a technically good video and it be boring. It could be, I would sit there and be like, yes, you did frame this correctly and you did all these, you did time it, and it was still boring. So now what?
I think that's a perfect way to put it, because when I picked up a camera, started with photography, and I realized like I really like the technical, part of it. I can't remember the famous photographer who does his like Headshot Academy out of New York. I want to say his first name is Peter, and I can't call his name. Anyway, but when he was talking through like doing headshots for many major studios, he's like, a lot of people on the news I've done headshots for, and his famous thing was, I do the $1,000 headshot. And so he's like, I can shovel so many people through my studio, but they trust me, and I get that one shot on my Hasselblad. Yeah. And it's like,
on film.
Right.
Dang, okay.
Well, it's digital now. His digital Hasselblad, but but he has this very nice clamshell lighting setup, and he just says, I never shifted. This is what I do. Right. Very technical.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's not creative, so don't come after me. But what I noticed was when I would go to events where photographers could shoot with many different models, and there was a woman there introduced by the woman who was running the event, and she was like, I have a Sony. I had an A7 III at the time. I think she had an A7 II. And she was like, I haven't really done studio lighting. I've done everything outside with natural light. And I said, oh, okay. I said, you know what? I have a shoot coming up with one of the models I talked to. Come to the studio. She said, cool. Came through. I set up a little bit of a lighting setup, very basic. And I just said, yeah, I'm let you do what you do. And that's what showed me. I said, never doubt somebody. Don't try to over explain things. Get away from the technical. And when I would see some other gentleman who wants to get in photography, and we're not gonna go into why some would get into photography, and I'm like, that's the reason why there's an uncomfortable part with women working with men in certain instances, because I'm like, I see this as creative and a job. I was like, and some of y'all, But going back to her, her photography after that point and her booking her own time at the studio, I just knew, I was like, it's just amazing. I said, let me put the camera down. I'm like, you've blown me. And she did not need the latest camera. She didn't know all the latest techniques, but when she learned the techniques, all it did was enhance what she already had.
Her intuition,
And many times I believe we are overlooking women creators because, men are like, well, this is the way you do it. And I said, you're missing a whole world of creativity because there's women have a different eye than you. And so, I just had to say that. I was like, I hate the dudes that are just like, Bree was talking about someone came up to her DJ set. Or someone's DJ and like, and touched the set. And I'm like, why are you doing that? So
I've had some, even while DJing, had instances very early on where people were trying to explain to me how to DJ while I was DJing. And I'm like, if you want to give me that, do that when I'm not in the middle of a set. Because how am I supposed to take that in real time? If anything, you're throwing off my A game and it's just not effective. But I've noticed that is a thing where, especially, and I think Bree mentioned this as well, like the idea of like touching a DJ deck while a woman is DJing is crazy to me. That is crazy to me. That is like the utmost disrespect in my opinion, because at the end of the day, she is working. We are working. And you don't know. It's just a lot. And I think, again, I don't want to discredit. I know there's a lot of women that actually technique is like key and gold. Like they know their technique. But I think it takes it to another level when they're like, why am I doing this? Why am I shooting this way? Why am I documenting this person this way? Like, I think the questions that are being asked are just as important, because a lot of technique is not enough to tell a story if you're not actually like, why am I framing it this way? Like, why am I picking these colors for this, shoot? Like, why am I picking this backdrop? Like, if it's just about how do I make it look pretty, then there's like, you've already lost. Like, that's...
You lose the creativity.
Yeah.
You become so technical that it's just, you lose the soul.
Right.
And you were mentioning that. I love the technique of film. One of my favorite setups is Wes Anderson, his style.
Very locked on.
Locked on. It's
composed.
very technical.
Right.
He wants everything centered.
Yep.
But there's also still this creativity in that. And he's just saying, I have confined myself to this technical box, which then pushes me to be creative to say, that's the only box you can work with. How do you make that box work?
Exactly.
And I think that's really cool that when you have limitations, especially when we're first starting, right? You start with a Rev 1. I'm sure you have a camera that's not your dream camera yet. We were talking about you would love an FX3, right? But in the meantime, working with what you have, you know how to get creative.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I think that's a beautiful way to, I try not to do the whole like gear is important, because people have also like tried to push that on me. And I'm like, this is what I got. So let me work with and I've made some beautiful, like some of my favorite photos were not on a mirrorless. Like my DSL, my favorite camera, and I don't know why I sold it, but it was a Canon 6D. But I have shot, like I believe I shot my Essence photo with that camera. I don't remember. But I've definitely like shot some of my favorite like personal work on that camera. And I miss it. I actually love Canon for photo. I miss it. I need to switch back.
Canon has a certain color.
Right.
That and that was like the scary thing when Canon was like, okay, well, as a company, we need to catch up with Sony with mirrorless. And I was like, man, now your scientists have to replicate that color in a mirrorless world. I think they're there now, but I think the first two mirrorless cameras, I was like,
not so sure.
It's not there, but I do remember like my first camera was a Canon T2i.
I had the T3i.
Yeah. And I was filming like little music videos for people when I was in Florida. And when I look back and I find some of those on an old hard drive, I'm like, that's when you didn't care that much about all the extra technical. You were just like, ooh, what can I do? And then I see like as I grew and tried to be so critical of my own self, then the creativity started to dwindle a bit. So yeah, I love that you keep the creativity and say like, that's what's most important to me. Through DJing, photography, filmmaking, are there lessons that you've learned along the way?
So many. So many. I would say again, like with DJing, I've been learning about the art of letting go, the art of connecting with people, like letting that be your like North Star. Like all of the things that I do are in service of people ultimately. Like photography, I'm there to like make people see themselves or like feel like they're being seen. Filmmaking, I'm trying to find the stories that ultimately deserve to be seen and shown. DJing, I'm trying to have you have a good time. Like I'm trying to give you a space to like leave whatever like BS that you're dealing with like at the door. And also like nostalgia, remembering memories. Like songs are often associated with memories. So I'm always like, I need to like remember that's my North Star. It's like, it's not about like how I look on the stage or like, it's not about how, you know, technically correct I am. It's about if they're actually having a great time and if people are feeling seen. Other lessons is like, I've learned a lot about navigating relationships with people. Like network is key in all of these instances that I have described. Like photography, I have to shout out Black women photographers as a platform. They're the reason why I've gotten so many like amazing opportunities. Like I've worked with the New York Times, LA Times, US News, Essence. Like they were the ones that got me those opportunities. Same with Diversify Photo and the Beautiful Project. Like I was in the North Carolina Museum of Art because of the Beautiful Project. Like DJing, the reason why I got gigs is because of like people that, you know, seasoned DJs like would reach out and say, hey, do you want to spin at this spot? Or me and my friends, like I'm part of a DJ collective, Noir Divinity. I'm sure Bree brought that up. If I can't do a gig, pass it on, vice versa. So community and network is like king. And it just goes so, like you can be like the worst DJ and still be in rooms because you know people and like you are a good person and that you are, you know, a good steward of your relationship with people. So I've been always like kind of having that in the back of my mind. I feel like those are the big ones. There's many though. Absolutely.
You know, and with that, when we took it back to criticism and then you're putting out the work, you know, out there freely for people to criticize, right? But what's important to you is that you're putting out the work in general, right? Many people talk, but it's like, where's your work at? Right? So how important is it to stay consistent and let me rephrase that. How important is it to stay consistent and keep producing work?
I know it is important. I won't say I'm the best at it. I'll admit. Like, for example, there was a period where I would even say now, haven't been doing photography very often. Like, that's kind of taken a back burner. But I think the consistency for me is not necessarily about the work. It's about talking about what I'm doing. Like I actually love the process, like showing people process. And I love for myself being accountable about the fact that I'm trying at least every day to do something. Like that's why school has been so helpful. I have made more work in this like almost 6-month period than I have in like 4 years. Like I think sometimes that accountability, having something to submit to or like a reason to do something is always really helpful. So like finding motivation is like something that I always need. But I think it is important as an artist, because even if you're not making work like every year, like if you're a photographer or if you're an artist not making pieces every year, I think you have to at least like say that you're working on something. Like I think you have to at least like talk about it so that people know. Like visibility is important, unfortunately, as artists. Like I hate social media sometimes, but it has gotten me the opportunities that I've wanted and needed and have been dreaming about. So I think it's the showing up of it all versus the like physical work that you're producing.
Absolutely. I always love to end with this question. Mm-hmm. So 5 to 10 years from now, what impact do you want your artwork to have on the world?
Wow. Yeah, I think going back to what I said earlier, I hope specifically Black people feel seen in my work, or feel connected to themselves through my work. I talk a lot about like self-identity, about like self-understanding. I hope it allows people to like ask the questions they need to ask themselves about how they want to show up, and how, if they're artists as well, like feel inspired to also move forward and you know, do the things that they've been dreaming about. As a DJ, I hope like other women DJs come up and say like, hey, I DJ'd because of you, or you inspired me like to embrace maybe a more niche approach that other people told me not to do. Yeah, ultimately I just hope that it allows other people to like be in themselves and like be confident in like who they are and how they're showing up.
I love that answer. I love that answer. Thank you for coming to the show. This is a beautiful, beautiful conversation. Yeah. And of course, we're going to put links to everything that she does. Follow her. You definitely won't be disappointed. And I think you have some events coming up too.
I do. Oh my
I know
God.
by the time this comes out, probably it'll be past, but still follow because she has many events coming up.
Absolutely.
So yeah, you know, if you ever want to check out her set, make sure to follow. But again, thank you for coming through.
No, thank you. This is amazing. I appreciate just having a platform to speak freely. So appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. That's it.